Good evening and welcome back to 630 POV. Tonight in the Hot Box, Josh Boschee wins the House seat in District 44, makes history as the first openly gay legislator in the state of North Dakota. Josh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Does it feel like you made history? And how does that feel to make history?
Well, I don't look at it as the fact that I made history. I look at the fact that we ran a good race, and regardless of the different aspects of who I am, people voted for who they felt was the best candidate.
Which I give you kudos on that. I think people were making a big deal about your sexual orientation. I think at the end of the day, it's all about meritocracy. If you ran a great race and the people in your district said, hey, I want Josh to go represent us, congratulations to you. So let's talk about some of the initiatives or things that you said that are important to you and your website. One of those is higher education. And you said, look, one of the priorities I've got is to make higher education more affordable in the state of North Dakota. How are you going to make that happen? I've got some things I want to share with you in a moment, but I want to get your ideas on how are you going to make higher ed more affordable in this state?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to look at the fact that we have the financial resources now to invest even more in our higher education system. We do have a large system for such a small state, but the product that we provide is above par, which is great. So by investing not only in our faculty and our employees.
But when you say above par, what do you mean specifically by that?
I think the programs, the product that we provide within our higher education system.
Okay.
So when you look at North Dakota State University or even Minot State University in their education program, we have people coming from all over the United States, all over the world for those programs.
But do you think it's a good idea then to invest more in people when, you know, the class of 2010, 2011, 7,400 high school graduates with 11 universities in the state. You and I both know we export a lot of these graduates. And I want to share something with you real quick. When you look at this map, and this is from Time Magazine, I don't know if you saw, they did a great article on basically his college debt across the United States. Right now, North Dakota spends more money per capita in higher ed than any other state in the union. You go down here a little bit, you can see spending compared to enrollment. Obviously, these red dots are the spending versus enrollment is fairly stagnant. And you've got a ton of money right now being spent on basically the non-teaching, the administrators in this higher ed system. And you're a young guy, you know that students right now are being buried in this student debt. So I want to ask you again, is making the investment the better idea, or are there some cuts that can be made to start to alleviate some of these rising expenses for students?
Well, I think we can definitely look at efficiencies. And as you state, if it's our administrative costs supersede our teaching or instructional costs, then we definitely need to look at that. When we talk about public employees, oftentimes we forget about the secretaries and the guys cleaning the residence halls and even some of the entry-level faculty. In order for us to be competitive, we need to be able to offer salaries that bring them here, yet we're paying administrators well over market value.
Yeah, I mean, when the president's making $300 grand a year, and you bring up a good point. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and he said, Chris, I walk into President Brashani's office, he's got 3 secretaries. Is that really necessary?
Well, and I don't know what each one of those women, or excuse me, I shouldn't assume all women, but each one of those secretaries do. But I assume they're there serving a function, but looking at what the efficiencies could be is definitely important.
You and I both know this is your first session, yet this is probably going to be one of the, I'll say, most intense sessions in the history of the state because of the surplus. When you look at the surplus, what are going to be your priorities? Is it spending in what areas, and are you a proponent of tax relief or no?
Definitely a proponent of tax relief, and that's because when talking to people on the doors, that's what they wanted. People did not support Measure 2, but they wanted some form of property tax relief, definitely. And when we look at investment, I think there's some opportunities. We can look at our history in the conservative way in which we've saved as a legislature, as a state government, and use that model to look at the future. We can invest in short-term needs now, as well as putting away some money that's going to help grow for 100 years from now.
You and I both know one of the big conversations is, hey, we need money out west for infrastructure, yet we're also going to need money for the diversion. How do you want to balance that act?
Well, I'm from Minot, so I see the experiences that my family and friends that I have out there have on a daily basis. The fact that right now only 14% of the revenue that's produced out there is going back to those counties, we need to change that formula. But at the same time, we have the resources now to really look at what can we do for our diversion here. I think there's opportunities to do both.
I'm glad to hear you're going to proponent of changing that formula. That's going to be very important. The other thing, sort of a social issue, is DUI laws in North Dakota are going to be under a lot of heat as well. Do you agree with the current DUI laws in the state? And if not, what's your proposed for change for those things?
Well, I'm not as familiar with the DUI laws. I definitely would look to Representative Edgar Chella, who's up in District 45, who's been trying to lead on this and introducing some policy. So I'd look more closely at what he's providing for information and see what what we agree.
But do you think they're currently working? I mean, we've got the highest fatality incidents in the country right now with alcohol-related fatalities. Do you think they're working, first off?
Well, there's a difference between, how much do you enforce and how much do you educate. So definitely, as far from an enforcement standpoint, they aren't detouring people from drunk driving. So we probably should look at that as investing in changing some of that to make it more of a deterrent. But as far as changing our culture, we also have the highest binge drinking rate in the United States. We have our college-age students drink at a higher rate than most students throughout the United States. So there's some culture things we need to look at as well.
Josh, thanks for your time. Again, congratulations.
Yes.
Have fun in your first session. The lights are going to be bright and they're going to be hot. Stay with us because coming up in just a moment, Measure 5, Stopping Animal Cruelty. North Dakota even made it to The View the other day. We've got Ellie Hayes with us next. She'll tell us, hey, why didn't this thing pass? Stay close. More coming up right here on 630 Point of View.